Now we're going to continue again with Superangel founder stories, and I'm super happy to welcome here all the way from San Francisco, Eric, but he's not here for the first time. He's actually one of the first employees of Skype, which I'm super happy about. So basically an Estonian. So please welcome on stage, Eric. I can have your jacket, or do you want to have that video?
No, it's fine. I'll just throw it here. So, good. Hey everyone. How does this work? Is this, which one do I sit? Nice meeting you all. It's my second day here from San Francisco in Tallinn. You might have seen me interviewing your dear Madam President yesterday, which is a great experience for me as she's really an inspirational woman. That I wish we could export to many other countries, for example, where I live right now. That could really be a change of spirit. But yeah, I was given the task of giving you a little bit of a story of me, which is, you know, a little bit awkward, of like talk about me. But I wanted to just briefly go through some things that I think is relevant and things that you should have back of your mind and so on. But at the core of it, I think this is really one thing that what I'm seeing is really a difference from when I was early on joining Skype and coming here as well in Estonia and in Tallinn and seeing what was happening. You know, we have a generation of founders of Skype and Unity and Zendesk and Spotify and so on. But, you know, there was really a common denominator. There was against all odds that they succeeded. And I think we now have an opportunity to change that. There's so many more things where we can help each other. And the whole thing of really coming together as a community is essential. And I really believe in this motto we have here. But okay, quickly, just a little bit of background. Anybody can tell me what that is that I have up here? So talking about me, that I'm 47 years old, so I actually was the generation of the mobile phone, seeing from basically big iron things to these type of things, and I helped launch the first mobile internet platform in Denmark, where I'm from, and when it was like called WAP and GPRS, and these were the type of phones we were working with, very archaic. Then I had the pleasure of joining Janus and Niklas, and I had for many years, I started in like boring, or you know, I had done business school, and then I did management consulting, I did corporate strategy, and I got a great executive role at Oracle in Europe. And I was like, I was on a path where my resume looked like fucking awesome, right? It was just like, yes, this is the way you build a resume. This is what you do. And I just realized that's not really what I wanted to do. And I realized I was like doing so much with my brain, of like all my decisions was up here. And it was, you know, great decision as such. It was safe decisions, but I was not passionate about what I was doing. And I think that's like one thing when we grow up and our parents are like, oh, like make safe decisions, don't take risks, don't do anything stupid, and so on. You are like indoctrinated into a path that maybe not be the path where you want to be. But you end up there and you say, wow. But at least one day I look back and say, hey, I don't think this is the right approach. And I heard about this company called Skype. It was a startup, and I remember, you know, I went to London and I came in a black pinstripe suit to the London office and met with Janus and Niklas, and they looked at me and said, who's that like idiot? Like, because they were in t-shirts and jeans and whatnot and so on, and like I was like coming from a complete different culture and a very different world that I entered. But I realized, and it was just really haphazard, and it's really a message I want to convey to all of you. I realized for the first time I made a decision with my heart. And from then on, that has been my guiding beacon, compass for everything I do in life. Is like, detach all the clever things, all the rational things and so on. Listen to your heart and say, is this the right thing? Is this really what I want to do? And I think the great thing is, like when I told my mother I was joining Skype, she started crying and said, you know, what happened to my son? And like, it's not good. I think the great thing is that we in the tech community and entrepreneurs have shown as role models that it can be done, and you should not be afraid, and you can lean in and do this. And I really encourage everyone that you meet, you know, as long as you follow your heart, you know, you have a reason to get up every morning, and that's essential. I then joined another unicorn called TradeShift. I helped them get off the ground. It was interesting to use my experience from Skype. And then I was like, hey, so much to be on the side of things, like should I not also do something on my own? And this was then in 2010, where, you know, Facebook had launched, Instagram had launched, Twitter had launched, and everybody just was more and more active on social media. It's like red hot. Everybody was excited about social media, spending a ton of time in posting me about all these moments happening. And I felt, you know, wouldn't it be great if we could create a time machine for the web, allowing us to see, search, and share all our greatest memories? Being able to say, what was that fun place I went to with my friends? Or when was the last time I was together with Peter or Pia or something? And being able to basically index everything that was happening on social media. And we launched that, and we got fantastic reception, and we went to Sand Hill Road, to Silicon Valley, like, and we raised $2 million within 6 weeks on a basic prototype. And it was just like crazy hype. And we got Robert Scoble and Jason Calacanis, and we got all the influencers in Silicon Valley that signed up and used this and raved about it, and it was great. And then some did say, you know, what are you going to do when Facebook copies you? And we were like, yeah, you know, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. 80% of our users came from Facebook. And in September of 2012, at F8, when Mark Zuckerberg went up on stage, and basically word for word took my pitch and said, hey, wouldn't it be great if with all the memories or moments we created on Facebook could create, you know, memories, and we could share that on a timeline that we call Facebook Timeline. And guess what? Every morning you wake up and Facebook will remind you what you did 5 years ago, which was our key engagement feature on Memo Lane. And you're like, fuck, your phone, my phone went ballistic. Like I had, like on all channels, everybody was like, Eric, you're fucked. It's like, okay, abort mission, abandon ship, this is never going to work. And definitely our investors were also very encouraging and said, Eric, this is time for you to exit. Like, get out of this. And sure, you know, when you know there's no more money, we are definitely not going to get more money, what do we then do? And then it's a hustle, and it's brutal hustle as a founder to say, hey, what do we do? Do we just like give up and cave in? Or do I find a way? So we did a survey to all our users and said, hey, how would you like to use Memo Lane if you were to pay for services? You know, could it be some type of game you could do, or could it be storage? You know, that could be a thing. And then we also, and a lot of users said, wouldn't it be great that we could automatically print our memories, like these Memo Lanes that we created? Wouldn't it be great if we could create photo books? I was like, perfect. So guess what? I then reached out to Shutterfly, which is the biggest photo book producer. And I said, hey, we are thinking of blah, 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 and would this be interesting for you? And they were like, this is awesome, this could be really cool. And we started a conversation with them about like a partnership, but basically on the back door say, maybe you want to acquire us. And then, you know, I then went to a friend of mine, Raj Kapoor, he's a fantastic guy. He had sold his company, Snapfish, to HP. And I went to him, and he made the introduction to the CEO of then Snapfish at HP. And I went and said, you know, we have one of your competitors that's talking with us, but like we much rather like work with you, and like could we do this and so on. And then eventually they acquired us, and it's like, you know, very difficult when you are like have this baby that you live and really invested a lot of passion and time in, and then say, okay, now we hand it over to this monster, and especially a monster that, you know, it's interesting if somebody has like the details of history. Who bought Skype? First time, not second time. eBay. Who was the CEO of eBay at that time? Meg Whitman. Who was the CEO of HP when they bought Memolane? Meg Whitman. Like boom, boom, boom. So it's like a continuous like nightmare with Meg Whitman. So yeah, it was a journey. It was interesting to suddenly again come into a corporate world, which is very different from startup world, and very quickly I also realized that's not for me. But I stayed there. As I was locked in, but also I wanted to see if we could do something. But HP then decided to split up in two and was really disillusional. So from then on, I actually said, what can we do to help the next generation of founders? All the things that I've learned from Skype and Tradeshift and Memolane and working with a number of great founders that's come over to San Francisco and whatnot, and said, you know, all these founders, against all odds, made it, let's try to do something, and that's why I created byFounders, which is an early stage for founders byFounders fund, where we're investing in the next generation of founders. What we've done is we have assembled some of the most accomplished founders from the Nordics and Baltics. We have Stintam Kivi, who's my old colleague from Skype, from Estonia. We are looking, and hopefully in a half a year or so, we can reveal some other great founders from Tallinn to join as well, because we really want to show that like the Power New Nordiques, which we call the Baltics and the Nordics. If you were there yesterday, we are actually doing fantastic in the Nordics and in the Baltics. Nobody really knows it yet, and I think we are so humble in nature. By like we don't want to step out and brag like Silicon Valley does, but the fact of the matter is we're doing fantastic. From 2013, there was $11 billion unicorns in Europe. In Europe, 11. That was 13 years. There was one from the Nordic and Baltics, which was Skype, 2.6 billion to eBay. What's interesting is from 13 to 18, there was 41 unicorns in Europe, so 4x increase in just 5 years. But what's more important is that within these 41, there's basically 10 of them coming from the Nordic and Baltics. So more than 20% of all the great unicorns that we have created in Europe is coming from this little region of Nordic and Baltics. Like we are really punching above our weight. You know, we have a population here in Estonia, 1.3 million people, and you created 4 unicorns, right? That's not bad. Like, do you know how many unicorns France have created in the same period of time, where there's 60 million people? 4, right? So it's like, we are actually doing fantastic, and we can do much more. And how do we unleash this potential? And I think this is one of the key things that I go around and tell people. Of course, one is to think with your heart. The other thing is, this is the story of innovation. What? How can this be the story of innovation? So Denmark, where I grew up, as I tend to say I just had an opportunity to speak in front of 1,000 business leaders in Denmark, and I called them shepherds. We are a country of shepherds in Denmark. So are many here in Estonia. So are many in Norway, Finland, everywhere. We are brought up, educated, and hired to be shepherds. What does that mean? We are hired to basically come in, get a job, do what we are asked to do, count the sheep every quarter, boom, 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 and making sure that everything runs like clockwork. Maybe optimize, get a few extra sheep, and that's it. That's what we are hired to do. And funny enough, our boss is a shepherd. And he will continue like clapping and say, you're doing great. And his boss is a shepherd. And in the board, it's only shepherds. And that's why, we have great companies that keep on just growing like this. It's a steady ship. They've existed for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And there's like no rocking the boat. It's just like, get in, be a shepherd, do good. There's nothing wrong in being a shepherd. It's okay. But the challenge is that what's happening now is that Silicon Valley, and as well here, you guys are wolves. And you only have one goal, is to eat as many sheep as possible before the shepherd wakes up and sees what the fuck is going on, right? And I think this is the mentality that we are trying to induce more and more into this next generation of founders. Think like a wolf. Really go out and say, how do I become a category winner? Look at what Airbnb have done, Uber have done, Spotify have done, Skype have done, Bolt is doing, right? They are becoming category winners. They are thinking about not like, oh, how we optimize for the next quarter. No, how do we get all the sheep before the shepherd realizes what's going on? Okay, what's encouraging is 25% of all graduates now coming out are excited about doing startups versus going into big corporates. Like we've seen the whole tech community here in the Nordic and Baltics growing by 4x over the last 10 years. More importantly, we now have role models. It's essential. This is really what, if we didn't have a company like Skype and what they created, guess what? Would we have Pipedrive? Would we have Bolt? Would we have Space, not Space, what are they called? The rolling thing. Starship, thank you, right? All of this trickle down from Skype, right? And we see this across the Nordics and Baltics, that we have role models now. And that's what we also created with byFounders. We have all these 50, great entrepreneurs serving as role models. But one thing I would just like highlight here around role models. One role model we really are missing is female founder role models. We want to see more female founders. And as long as we don't have strong female founder role models, then it's very difficult for more women to get into tech and feel that this is the place they should be. It's not just a moral issue, it's an economic problem, because basically we have a bottleneck in getting enough talent into the tech community. And if we are not able to engage women and all the powers they have, then we are losing out. So do me a favor, for all of you female founders, step up, go for it, and encourage also your dear friends to participate. I think we can make a change on that. Okay, I have 12 seconds left. Perfect. What we are looking for in investing is passion, love, and the ugly slide. I think this is essential when you're talking with any investor going forward. Of course, you have passion for what you do. We're looking for people that have products that people love, but more importantly, we're looking for the ugly slide. Tell us what is it that keeps you up at night. What are the things that challenge you, and what are the things where you need help? All the BS and sales slides and so on, we can't use anything for. It doesn't make sense. But when you actually are stepping up and saying, here's the challenges, why I believe that what we are working on might not work, that's where we can actually start a conversation where we are at eye level and where we can pull in great founders to say, hey, we've been there before, we know it all. A relationship between a founder and an investor is a marriage. It's 10 years. It's not a sales and here's the money and go do. It's staying together for a long period of time. We have in Danish, in Swedish, in Norwegian, I'm not sure what the word is in Finnish, and I'm not sure what the word is in Estonia. Skadefryd, Schadenfreude is the German word. It's we get pleasure in seeing other people fail. I'm sure that you have at least in the Danish vocabulary, it's a word. You can look it up, and it's we laugh when people fucking fail. how do you think it is for an entrepreneur to be an entrepreneur in a country where they have a word for that and where they don't have a word for the opposite, right? Where we are getting pleasure in seeing other people succeed. So think about that when you are going together with others, creating big successes. Don't laugh about when people are failing. It's too easy. It doesn't serve any purpose. But really embrace those that are doing an effort, trying to make a difference, take risk, and encourage them and help them and find ways to make them successful. Okay, thank you everyone.
Stay here. Thank you, Eric. Stay here for a moment. We have questions for you.
Oh shit, okay. Good.
I'm gonna then shoot. If you would have one thing you could do like tomorrow to bring more female entrepreneurs who would build the next unicorns, what would you do differently in Estonia, in a community, to make that happen? What should we do? That's a tricky one, I know.
Yeah.
Should we bring all our daughters to tech conferences?
Yeah.
Like
no, I think again it's very much around this role model, because I think it's about confidence, and I experience that still, you know, there's many hurdles to be a founder altogether, but even being a female founder can even be a bigger hurdle, because you're like, am I good enough? Why? Like, it's like, do I have a purpose here? Can I do this? And fuck yes, you can. And of course, it's like you have all the means, and you're actually much better often than the guys. And it's about building that confidence and those role models. So I think it's like we are actually in our forums, when we have, like when you go on our website and you say, hey, we would like to speak with us and so on, we ask, are you a female founder? Like, because we basically want to create an open road for female founders that get like full access to speak with us, because we don't want to at that early stage filter out for all the wrong reasons. We want to really have an open road.
Thank you. Do we have questions from the audience? No questions to Eric.
I spoke so much. I said so much.
You answered all the questions there is.
Yeah.
But I'm happy actually that you did an intro for our next speaker.
Oh, you did?
Who is a female founder. And I would welcome her on stage then.
Perfect. Good.
Big applause to Eric once more.
Thanks.
So our next speaker, Ida, is a female founder, a founder of Clue, and they coined the term femtech, which is when technology helps solve female health problems. So, and Ida also loves motorcycles, but I guess that's what you're going to see in her presentation. So welcome on stage, Ida Zinn. Hi, Ida. Here you go. Clicker.
Thank you so much. Hi. Good to be here. So I want to tell you about my journey as a founder. I'm going to try and kind of weave a few different journeys together. The journey of the company and my own journey. And I also just want to kind of highlight that there is this whole new category in tech on the rise called femtech. So this is technology that are addressing needs that women have because we have this unique biology. And my intention is to try and also talk a little about some of the kind of invisible and kind of underlying drivers that are in me as a founder. So the journey starts with motorcycles. Why? Because it's me in the yellow helmet. The other kid is my brother. So my parents are these very adventurous people that travel around the world with me and my brother since I was little, and kept doing that. So I have seen a lot of the world, which was amazing. And one of the things that really got deeply embedded in me was seeing women's lives across the planet in all different shapes and forms, and feeling that people want to live self-directed lives. They want to have agency over their life. And not everybody has, and I think they could have. So that was a big inspiration for starting Clue, and somehow managed to curate my own education since I was 14, and somehow motorcycles became part of the curriculum. So here I am, 18 years old, on my first trip alone, or without my parents, on my little motorcycle in Mexico. And I always just managed to kind of do weird things, things that I just wanted to do, things that I dreamed of, things that felt meaningful. So I have lived a very self-directed life, I think it's fair to say. And on these journeys from Southern Africa, this is me, 13 years old, with my first computer, and an amazing woman from the Himba tribe in Namibia. I've seen women, as I said, wanting to, find their way in life on their own terms. And with tech, we have a really unique opportunity to support this desire. I started a motorcycle touring company with my dad, and then I had this idea to see if I could use the desert as my office, to see if I could run my company out of my laptop with my little satellite device. And it was a lot of fun. I did that for 5 years. I had a very nomadic lifestyle. And so I've never worked anywhere. I've never had a boss. I've never tried to have a normal job. So keep that in mind when I talk about having a self-directed life. I might have taken this to an extreme, but I think a lot of people want to, be their own director in their life. So I had seen across the globe how fundamental it is to have this agency of your own life. And at some point in my late 20s, I was like, I had ended an unwanted pregnancy, and I was like, why is this thing about family planning so complicated? Tried to be on the pill, it was not working for me. And I started looking, I looked into a lot of patent database because I thought maybe there's some new amazing technology that could become a new form of family planning. And it was all about more of the same. And I was like, what? There has been no innovation in family planning for 70 years. Can we just pause on that for a second? 70 years. Like in that time span, we have developed the internet, nanotechnology, we put people on the moon, and yet a woman doesn't to this day know, like, what's going on? Can I become pregnant today? It pissed me off. I was like, what? This is not good enough. Like, we have to do something. So that was my spark for Clue. So I went from motorcycles to female cycles. Yeah. So why care about female health? We have 4 primary sex hormones that are govern our bodies for like 40 years of our lives and beyond. And it gives us some very unique life experiences. Because these are men's hormones. Not all that much happening. They're still very important. But it does mean that women have a unique set of life experiences that are different from men's. So having this sense of like women across the planet and why is family planning difficult and why don't we have data on this, I just started to start Clue together with my life partner, Hans. We both felt this really urgent need to bring scientific, valid, good information to people about their bodies. So we built Clue. It's a cycle tracking app that provides science-based, real, trustworthy information and insights about women's bodies. So maybe you don't know this, but actually period tracking is the most searched for term in the app stores over in health and fitness. So more searched than running, meditation, pregnancy. Like, it's a big deal. And we have well over 11 million active users. We've raised 30 million venture capital, which is way too little. There should be much more money flowing to us, for sure, but still a good start. And it helps people kind of unlock this power that we have in our bodies. Our bodies know things, and we need to help people understand what their bodies understand so that they can live self-directed lives. And I will say there is something in our times, there is a cultural shift happening, like women are standing up, they are rejecting these things that are holding them back, whether it's taboos or discrimination or, there is an acute lack of technology for women to solve the needs that we have, and more women are starting companies, are starting, providing services, products to cater for these needs that we have. When I think about, what should we develop and where do we put our resources as a startup, we're really pushing, we're pushing to do more with the data, we're pushing to do more with our AI to really give more value back to users based on their data. We want to give them insights that they can use every day to live their life as they want to. And so we're gathering a huge amount of data at Clue, billions and billions of data points, and I feel that we must keep ourselves to really high ethical standards, because this is the most sensitive data, and don't get me started, but there is a lot of crap happening in the tech world and in the app economy that I don't agree with and that I don't think is serving users. And I want users to start demanding their tech companies to have better ethics and actually handle their data with the level of care and privacy and protection that they deserve. We don't sell data, also want to say that. So we do a lot of educational content, which is part of trying to support people in having a voice, in being able to advocate for themselves, of being informed and knowledgeable enough that they can make good health decisions, that they know what the data actually means, that they understand where data is flowing in this world. It's a huge educational task. And we do this with science and knowledge and real facts and things that you can trust. We also want to bring something back to society. We're gathering this very precious data set, and we feel that it's also our responsibility to make that work for society at large. So we do a lot of science partnerships with amazing research institutions around the world, and then we learn something new, we can build new features, and we can give those back to our users, who are the ones who gave the data to make the science work possible. So we're trying to get that loop going. I want to say, so all these ethical questions of like, what's my ethical foundation as a founder? I'm talking to 11 million people. What do I say? How do I think about where this data is going? How do I think about my growth tactics? There's a lot of kind of ethical questions. And also this question of like, how am I a role model? How am I a CEO? How do I stay in my own body in this storm of being a founder? So I get help. I take these questions quite seriously. So these two people are important people right now in my life. So one is a spiritual teacher. He's called Thomas. He's a cool guy. He's full enlightened. He's a very special being. So I travel 4 times a year to California from Berlin to do a 2-year training program to try and become a wiser, deeper, more peaceful human being, which is hard work and amazing. And then the other person here is Barbara, so she's a body therapist, and I go to her every week, and she helps me get into my body, and she helps me develop kind of body literacy, I call it. It's a whole world for those of you who are not doing this kind of work. It's just amazing. I think this is going to be a big thing in tech and in the business world, a bit like meditation is starting to come. I think body work is like the next thing. And then I try to bring this back into the office, and it really informs our culture at Clue. It informs how I interview people, who I interview. It informs what kind of offsites we do. It really, this idea of we are full, whole human beings, that we bring all our stuff to work, and how do we actually take care of people? How do we help people grow? How do we manage fear? How do we create a safe environment? Like, there's so many things that I feel I can take from this kind of self-development and spiritual work and bring into the workplace in a work-appropriate form. It also keeps me somewhat sane, juggling family life. Those are my our 2 kids. And also managing to do a startup together with my life partner has its own sets of challenges and benefits, for sure. So maybe I should have had a third picture of like a couple therapist, which is definitely a very important component to make this whole thing work. And also, it helps me, as I said, try to navigate, like, what is my role as a CEO? It's a weird, floppy, blobby creature. And it changes every day. You know, it's different being a CEO for, you know, when you're 5 people around a table to when you're, now we're 65, 70 people. How do you morph yourself into keep fulfilling, you know, serving the company? So, and also I will say, if I don't define my role, somebody else will. So I really try to take ownership and in that way also have a self-direct, like, how do I want to be a CEO? And, you know, where is this whole journey taking me? What kind of CEO do I want to be? And what am I? And a big part of me getting clear on who I am as a CEO has been hiring a fantastic management team. These people are amazing. They are so much better operators than I am, thank God. And so I can focus on what I'm good at and let them do the stuff that they're good at. And this gives me a lot of freedom, and one of the things that I have installed in my operating system, my own personal operating system, are my Wednesdays. So my Wednesdays, they look like this. This is the time of the week where I can actually think, where I can be creative, where I can get nurtured, where I can find my body again, where I can be inspired, where I can be taken care of, where I can feel safe. And I think it's a huge kind of, it's being hugely undervalued to give leaders time to think. We run around like chickens without heads, we have meetings, we do stuff, but actually taking the time to really think, when do we do that? Maybe on our holidays, maybe, if we didn't have 2 small kids. So these Wednesdays are really important, and I will say it has taken me quite some time to get to a point where I could say, team, I'm actually not gonna come into the office on Wednesdays, but this is how I serve Clue best. It's not an easy exercise, and maybe especially for a woman where you always feel like you're not doing enough because there's always a family not getting enough attention, there's always work, and there's always a billion things, to actually take this time out and be like, this is what we need. Yeah, it doesn't always work, but it's getting there. So I want to leave a little time for questions because I actually think the questions are like the best part of this. So I hope you have questions, but I will say just in conclusion, technology can do so much to help people live self-directed lives, but it's not a given. We are also living in a tech environment where we're building for addiction, we're building for digital traps, we're building for consumerism. Like, I think as founders, we have a huge responsibility to actually be part of creating the world that we want to have. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ida. Let's have some questions. We still have some time. I see a lot of hands. Please give the microphone there. Then we have a hand here as well.
Hi, Ida. Nice to meet you on the stage. I gotta say your followership in Berlin is very high. People are celebrating Clue, so good on you. I wanted to ask you, because you seem to have established a very healthy way of thinking about work as a CEO, as a mother, as an entrepreneur. How would you convince someone to do, or how would I convince the CEO of the company that I'm working at to do Ida's Wednesdays? Because I think they really need it, but I think it's a hard task to do. So how did you convince yourself, is basically my question, that you need this?
So there's a few different things playing in. So first of all, I started this company because I really care about what we're trying to do in the world. So it's important to me that we, give it our best chance. We might fail, but I want to know that we gave it our best shot. And so this is going to take a long time. This is a long thing. So if I burn out, I'm not optimizing the chances of this becoming a thing in the world. So I feel I had to. But it's also important to have people around that support. Hans is supportive. I have a set of investors who are supportive. And kind of giving yourself allowance to form this in your own image. Maybe the lack of role models makes that a little bit easier because I don't know how other people do this. So I'm just going to do it my own way. A little bit like I've never worked anywhere, so I'm just creating an organization as I kind of think is common sense. Then people tell me this is really unusual. But, yeah.
Okay, we have one more question here. We have...
Hi, I'm
Hey.
Kalev from Superangel Fund. You are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are the role model
Made my
we
day.
need. I have a question in form of finish my sentence. So the first part goes, in order to keep my family happy,
In order to keep my family happy,
you do what?
I make sure to see them every day. With exceptions, like when I'm here. But actually, that's a big thing, because, you know, I get up, I take them to school and kindergarten, so I see them for like an hour in the morning, which is like, come on, get going. And then I'm home at 6. And then usually I have to like cook something like desperately for 2 hungry, tired kids. And then at 7:30, it's like off to bed. That means I see them an hour and a half. I know that if I stay longer at work, I won't actually see them. And for me, that's like, no. It's painful every single day. It is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Give her a big applause. I think the best advice is that get home at 6 o'clock. That's it. That's it. So the next speaker up on the stage is a co-founder at Prezi. Who of you has used Prezi over PowerPoint before? So look, and we discussed a little bit, and we have a lot of things common. So he's the technical co-founder of Prezi. I'm a technical co-founder of Moon Cascade. We both are not e-residents of Estonia, so this is something common we have. And we're both divorced. So please give him a big applause, Péter. Yeah, it was it.
Oh, that's the power. Anyway, so when I was 14, a couple of years ago, I was a talented guy. You know the talented people in the classroom. You know, I always organized something in the school. I was the leader of the student committee. I was smart, sharp, the natural leader, right? Who is always there, always in the center. I had good grades at university. I'm not a dropout student. And to be honest, I never had to do anything uncomfortable in my life, right? Because I was smart. No big effort. We had this joke at home with my brother, an older brother, and he said that having good marks with effort is not a big thing. Having good marks without effort, that's the big thing, right? Because then you are smart. This is the culture where I'm coming from. So I always had one direction in my life, and I married at 24 because I was smart, sharp, the natural leader, right? So I married. One direction. This is what you do after leaving the university. This is what I call today the tragedy of talented people, and this is what I learned from a Go player. Have you ever tried Go? This is a very simple game, really simple to start learning the game. And I felt the tragedy when my later PhD advisor asked me one single question. Péter, what are you good at it? At 25. And I couldn't really answer the question because I just did what I had to do, right? Everything. What are you really good at it? So the co-player told me once that at the beginning you start playing Go. It's really simple to learn the rule. You can play Go, and it's really cool to play Go because nobody else is playing Go around you. So you can be the cool Go player. But at a point, it happens, your performance is going up, and at a point, what is the inflection point, you don't improve anymore. Because this is the point when you meet someone else who can play better than you. And this is the point when you have to make a decision. So far, you enjoyed always being better without great or any effort. Here you start struggling, and then you have to make a decision. And the decision is simple. You give up because you are not enjoying anymore playing Go, because being better and better, it's a hard work. So you stretch out of your comfort zone. And basically, this is what I had to do. At 25, my wife had the idea. So we divorced at 25. It was not my idea. But accepting that was what I later called is the slightly crazy idea. So divorcing after 6 months of marriage at 25, going back to your parents, to the state, to the church, to the friends, whatever, it's up to you that maybe I made a wrong decision, right? Not maybe. You did a wrong decision. Here is the paper proving that you cannot make long-term decision about your life. So you are divorced. Well, I left my cool job because I had a cool job that time. But basically, I was lost. This is a time when I went to therapy. I really suggest to go to therapy. Somebody talked about coaching, that's therapy light, right? Go to therapy. Don't waste time. So the slightly crazy idea that maybe if you are not enjoying that relationship, even if it's 6 months long, you can divorce. So slightly crazy idea. Prezi was a slightly crazy idea. So we are in 2007, 12 years ago. I'm a computer science researcher. I show you what is computer science. This is my website. Computer science researchers have a website like this. I wrote papers, and my best paper was read by 200 people, which is, as a scientist, that's a great result. So I'm a computer scientist working on a social science department at a university in Budapest. And I met, I was invited to give a talk to Deutsche Telekom or Hungarian Telekom, the same, to a big room with all the executives, because they were thinking what is Google? 2007. So I gave a talk about how Google disrupts the advertisement market. Very smart, right? 2007. And I know one guy, Adam, who is a designer or media artist. Do you know what is media art? This is media art. It's not a useful thing from a computer scientist perspective, right? This is, for example, a Wi-Fi camera recording the visual or making visual transformation of the Wi-Fi signals in this room, built from cans. This is media art. So Adam is an architect by education, never built anything useful in his life. But as a media artist, he had this idea that instead of using slides, because media artists don't use PowerPoint, he drew his projects on a canvas and said, okay, let's zoom here, see this project, and let's zoom there. So I asked Adam, like, hey, what is the tool you are using? Because I want to give this talk to Deutsche Telekom. I want to nail it. He said, look, there is no such tool. I'm coding my presentations. So I did it. This is my first ever Prezi in my life, which is basically PowerPoint slides, or for scientists, this is LaTeX Beamer slides. on a canvas, and you can zoom in and zoom out, and it's about Google. And the talk went really, really well. To be honest, this is what happened. Everybody is seeing that because it's moving. I don't know if Hungarian or Deutsche Telekom ever understood Google AdWords or not. But I tried. So after the talk, we felt that, oh, we want to use this tool. It's so cool, right? I didn't want to build a company. I'm not a serial entrepreneur. Who cares? Let's build something. And we realized that building something or changing how people share ideas today is best, or it can happen as a business. So I left my scientist career, and we met this guy, Péter, who is our co-founder, the third co-founder, who is a Hungarian born and raised in Sweden, and he was the only one that time I knew who ever worked for startups something. So I called Péter, hey, here we have something, what shall we do? After a month, he moved to Hungary and we started Prezi, because we had really good conversation that, oh, maybe we should build a company. So this was the idea in 2008. You remember there was a financial crisis. So I went home to my mom and said, hey, Mom, I'm leaving my university assistant professor job with this accent from Budapest. We are going to build a startup. And we are going after Microsoft, Google, and Apple because we want to change how people share ideas. Do you know what my mom told me? Stupid. Not slightly stupid, or slightly stupid idea. And yes, it was a bit stupid idea, right? The chances are really, really low. And here is something what I learned since then. This was in 2009. This is parachuting. Who ever tried this? So we had this, if we have sand, no, we don't have sand. At this moment, they opened the door. Here. And you have to make a decision. So it's easy. You have to make a decision. You must move your body, right? And 2 million years of evolution saying no. No. You are here because your grandfather didn't do this. And grandfather didn't do this. That's what evolution is saying. So no. And you do it. So what is my point? Making this big decision that stepping out of their comfort zone, it's hard. This is what I learned. I feel the pain, but maybe that's the signal that I'm doing something interesting, right? When I can see the sense in the eyes of people in the room that, oh, maybe we cannot do that, that's the time. Then we might have something. Okay, I'm a scientist, ex-scientist, so let's see the science. Have you ever heard about growth mindset? Carol Dweck from Stanford. You must know about this. So we do a social science experiment or psychology experiment. It's like A/B testing for scientists. And we ask you to solve a puzzle, and you can solve the puzzle, you know, a small puzzle. And for this group, we are saying when you solve the puzzle, so you feel good, then you must be smart at this, okay? And for this group, we are saying you must have tried really hard. I don't know how is Estonian language, but I guess very similar to Hungarian in that sense that you have tried really hard has a very negative connotation, right? Okay, you have tried. Oh, you must be smart at this, right? Talented, cute. We like these words. Okay, what happens? you know? We developed something what is called a fixed mindset, and we developed something what is called growth mindset, and then we ask you to solve another problem and make a decision. Do you want to have an easy or hard problem? And this group will take the easy problem. And this group will take the hard problem. Why? Because I said that, oh, you must be smart, so you build the identity of being smart and talented. So there is a higher risk to fail if you have a harder problem. Here, you are not smart, you are not talented, you tried really hard. So it's not as big risk to have a harder problem, right? Nobody likes risks. Nobody. That's bullshit that we like risks. Nobody likes risk. But in this group, we don't sense any risk. In this group, we sense losing our identity, who we are. Harder challenge, poorer performance. You are better learner. Back to the original problem, even worse. And this is my favorite one. What was your score at the beginning? And this group lying. Because telling that I was wrong when I was at the same time told that I'm smart is just kind of hard. For them, it's okay. I was wrong, right? So this is the growth mindset. You must accept that you don't know, and it's okay. You must accept that you are not so fucking talented. Everybody wants to hire the best people, and Estonia has the best talents. No. Data proves? No. Hungary has. No, that's not the point. The point is how much you are willing to work and effort, right? So with this mindset, the story of Prezi is easy. I tell the story of Prezi. Oh, we don't need this. Sorry. Blah, 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 blah. Good? So the story of Prezi. So 3 people comes together in the room. The useless computer scientist, the useless designer, and the entrepreneur who doesn't really like presentations that time. Good. And then we say, let's do a company. Let's build a business. A global business with this accent from Budapest. You know Budapest, how open we are. And then we raise some money. We raised first $1.5 million, then we raised $40 million, and then the last one was $57 million. It's a pretty big number in Budapest. I don't know Estonia. And then we had our friends using Prezi, and the friends of friends, and then friends of friends of friends of friends, and then we had 7, and then 20, and then blah, 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 and then we have more than 100, this is all data, and we have more than 4 billion views, and we have the largest database on the earth, or in the universe, in the cloud, right? Why? Because we knew only one thing. We don't know. At the beginning, we didn't know how to build a company, so I Googled Wikipedia, tag along, drag along, things like that. It was 2 minutes before the investor meeting. I don't think it's really important, but we did. And we have a saying in Prezi that, and I want to show this, we have a lot of people, offices, blah, blah, blah. But we have a saying in Prezi, and the saying says that what we knew before, what we know today, and how we worked in the past was enough to get there where we are today. But for tomorrow, we have to learn. But the problem with learning is the grief. Accepting that we don't know. We are not the best for that position where we are because somebody else is knows more, right? So we have to learn. But having this mindset that we have to learn, you have to accept that you don't know. Better, never the best. This is another mantra we are saying. You can be always better. You can do it always better way. If you are the best somewhere, or you have the best solution, or the best whatever programming language, or the best capital for startups, it means two things. One, you compare your performance to others. You are best because they are the second is not as good. Second, you stop developing. So I don't care who is better. I care about how you are improving. So better, never the best. That's the Prezi mindset. Thank you.
This was really good. This was really good. Thank you
Better
so
marriage is never the best.
The thing is that we don't have time for questions. Or maybe let's do one question. But this needs to be a really good one. So if you have a shitty question,
The best. We need the best
make
question.
the best question.
the-
Look, no, but actually I did it deliberately to see that everybody's like fear, like oh, fuck, I can't. Look, there is one. Yes, sir. What are you getting better at this week?
The easy answer is my Estonian.
He doesn't believe that. This week.
Okay, in my patient, I was sitting in my hotel and I answered one email and I deleted it. And I'm better not to, that I didn't send that reply. I can tell the whole story. But it was good that here in this city, I slowed down. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Give him a big applause. You're a great man. Thank you so much. Can I have the clicker? Yes, excellent. To be honest, because of this kind of stories, I honestly believe that contents of yellow stage are much better than the contents of blue stage. That's why I'm honored to be one of the hosts here. The next founder on the stage is an Estonian founder who has made her company in Israel. Currently there it's like plus 40 degrees, and she still has a sauna in her home, which is like very Estonian, I would say. And on a let's say a little bit more serious topic or tone, her company started out because of the reason that she has diabetes type 1. So give a big applause to Triinu.
Thank you very much. Supreme is next. Thank you very much, and Peter, it was a great talk. I love your product. I've used Prezi a lot in my life, and very, very good. I really recommend. If someone didn't raise the hand before, check it out. So my name is Triinu Mägi. I'm a co-founder and CTO at Neura. I'm very grateful and thankful to be here today. As you heard, I live in Israel, but I'm from Estonia, so I'm even more excited here to be after many, many years. I want to talk about, I think, one of the most important things in startups. Previous speakers, they touched the points, so I think it's a good flow. It's well set by the organizers. So I want to talk about the one of most important thing in startup. This is the thing that defines your success or failure in the startup. This is a thing that becomes the core values of the team, motivates your employees, gives you supportive shoulder or cold shoulder on your journey. This is the thing that investors are checking the most and scrutinizing on the early stage of the startups. It's a founder's team. It's a relationships between the founders and the values and the traits they bring on the table. When I'm talking about the startup, the Neura, then a lot hear people telling me, oh my God, I will not be able to run a startup with my husband or with my wife. And that's true. I founded a startup together with my husband. Like Ida here did the same. And with two co-founders. And I kind of understand it. It's a challenging road. I cannot say it's easy. We are like opposites of each other. One is the right side of the brain, other one is left side of the brain, and we argue a lot. Our co-founders love it. They say that good, thoughtful thoughts are coming out of that and great solutions to the problems, but we don't enjoy it so much. Moreover, back in 2013, this is the picture, these are the founders in the investor office. Some of the investors said that we will never invest in the startup where the co-founders are married to each other. I kind of understand where it comes from. 75% of the startups fail, and 50% of the marriages fail. Make your own math. But there is something. There are lots of startups where the co-founders are married couples. Some of them phenomenal companies like Wimware, Eventbrite, or House, or SlideShare, or Clue today when we heard. So what is about it? What makes the difference here? What I have learned that the characteristics that make us to become a founder or entrepreneur are the same characters, the same traits that actually make us a good, resilient couple. So let's talk about that. When you start a startup today, I will definitely recommend you to really understand who are your co-founders, not only what kind of professional knowledge they bring it to the table, but also what kind of values, what kind of traits, can we share them, and how it can be on the road. Most of the startups don't do it. We didn't do either. When we started Neura, as you said, it started from a personal story, from my medical case. I and my husband joined hands. We said, yes, that's what we're doing. 2 friends joined us. We packed the suitcases. We flew to America, started to iterate the idea with investors, customers, and market. And we didn't think about a lot. It was immediately the race car. But actually, on the road, we changed our product, I think 5 times. We went to go to market 2 or 3 times. So it was a test to resilience. Every time we failed, it was to learn, to change, raise up again, and try again. It's not the easy road. Only once I started to embrace the failure and understand that this is the part of my everyday. Every day you fail in the small decisions, what you make people to feel or what you thought, every day there is some failure. Only then I started to enjoy the road and actually was able to carry the load and become perseverance. We started the startup with 4 founders. Today, we are 3 founders in the company. One of us couldn't make it. It was too hard for him. It was ups and downs, and all of this took pieces from him. We tried to help him. We tried to find balance in the life, but he chose to go for a long vacation in Thailand and never came back to work at Neura. So what I learned from it, startup is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And you cannot hold your breath after every change and hope for a positive change. It might take too long, and you just lose the oxygen. You might die. So startup is, for me, game, very real game, with a passion and challenges that I play until at the end of this game. At the same time, I'm a mother too. I have also 2 small children. They are both born the years when I was running a startup. The names are Emma and Lumi. Family is very dear to me. It's very important to me. So perseverance is for me in the family life like a dedication, like a wedding vows, that you promise that you are together and support each other in a bad, in a good, at the end of the lives. Not the story for many of us. We just heard about that as well. It wasn't a story of mine as well, almost. Because we also got to the point when we said that we cannot make it anymore. It doesn't work out. We're both leading a startup, both running. It's just too hard. But we are both entrepreneurs, and we both have a perseverance. we can carry the load. So we decided that we can also work out with our relationship and make it better. Humility, really being a humble, freedom of ego and arrogance, and actually deeply listening, really listening and understanding without the need to react. This is what was the key element for us here. I'm not a good listener. I wasn't so good at all. Maybe I hope a little bit better, or working for it. I and my husband, we had lots of patience towards our customers and our team, and we heard it was much different, but between us, we don't have any patience to each other. But when we started to deeply listen each other without need to react, I emphasize, no need to react. You want to react, you push it away. No reading react. You do meditation, you know what I mean. You don't want to react. Only then we started to actually understand each other's needs, see the soul. We started to support each other again, and we became closer. At the same time, anecdotally, I think that humility is the hardest trait for entrepreneurs. Because we founders, entrepreneurs, the breed of founders, we are the most self-confident people. We know what's the next innovation in the market. We know what are the solutions our customers' challenges. We know what's the tactics, what's the strategy. We know everything. That's the impression we bear every day, right? This is how we lead to things. But actually starting to really be humble and listen to our customers and to the market and the team, we can become better. We can be more successful. The ego and arrogance doesn't have a place in the motivation when we run the startup. For example, when we realized that one of our co-founders is going to leave the company, we came together and we understood that we have been very diverse founders team, and we liked it. So we decided to hire a CEO. We were worried, concerned, if the new CEO has resilience and perseverance, but it was sure for us, clear sure for us, and that we need to support him, we need to make him a place and space, we need to motivate him and help him to fulfill his potential. Today, he's completely one of us, fully motivated, true believer, in a bad and in a good. I think the fact that Neura succeeded here shouldn't be taken granted. We have heard lots of different stories here as well. And today, in Neura, our business is 2 times better than it was 2 years ago. I think the fact that we got to that point, we have shared one common value, all of us, the hunger of growth. It's a hunger and courage to change, to learn and to change, to constantly reinvent yourself, your company, and your thoughts and your values. It sounds stressful? Not really. It's not really stressful when you manage to switch in your mind and understand the change is happening all the time. The company, the business is not there where it was yesterday. I'm not the same. I'm constantly changing. The people are changing. My partners are changing. My husband is changing. And to accept that change. Whereas the people, it's very easy. Yeah, of course, I'm changing. But you, I saw you 10 years ago. You are exactly the same. Not at all. We're all changing. Even the thoughts that I have today, they will be slightly different tomorrow. And once embracing the change and constantly reinventing, this what helps here. And this is what I have learned from entrepreneurship. And I have applied it to my marriage as well. I don't have to stay the couple who argues and fights all the time. I can change that too. If I can pivot the company, I can pivot my marriage too. So the main 4 characteristics that make entrepreneurs survive are resilience, perseverance, humility, and hunger of growth. I think the hunger of growth is actually basis for all of them. Because when I would give up, then I think I lose my opportunity to grow. I give up my opportunity to grow, so I cannot give up. So the hunger of growth and courage to it, this is something that actually drives all of it. And whatever happens to Neura, I have got my lessons. I have got very significant heritage from Neura. I've understood that the same characteristics that make me as an entrepreneur are the same things that I can rely my marriage and my partnership on. And the road of Neura have been very bumpy. There's been ups and downs, lots of curves, but when I look back to it, I think it has been forth of it. So Neura is today the leading personalization provider in mobile engagement and mobile growth markets. We increase our customers' engagement, user engagement and retention multiple times in various industries like ride sharing and food delivery, telecos, medical wellness and health. We started from there as my personal story. Lots of content sharing customers. We understand the user's need and availability, and we push this knowledge to our customers that they can react and engage with the users in the right moment in users' daily life. This is the glance to the Neura team. And these people are carrying the same core values today that we talked about: humility, resilience, perseverance, and hunger of growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very interesting story. Do we have questions from the audience? I know we do. Are there only Estonians in this room? Priit, can you see that? There are only Estonians in this room, no questions. We have one, and he's an Estonian. That's a good example.
Yeah, I'm Estonian, but lived too long in US.
Like me.
Contaminated.
Run away from here.
Contaminated, yes. Thank you for a great speech and really keen focus on growth and humility at the same time. What are your tips in pivoting a marriage into constant arguing, which both of you don't like, into more stable, more fresh, more ongoing? What did you actually do?
What we actually did. So it's really the switch of the mind. First of all, we always said there is a flame. Honestly, I sometimes said, I don't know, is there a flame? But you feel there is a flame. And we have children, so it helps, actually, in this case. But it's really, really starting to making a switch in the mind to understand that, by the way, the same thing that we are now talking, it was also one of the key moments when, in our case, we said, you know, the fact that we're entrepreneurs and we have this really helps here. So it's really a true story. And it's a lot of talkings. It's also asking a help, but it's not a one-day switch. It takes time, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Then you can feel, and then we can talk about power couples.
More questions? We have a question there.
Thank you. I agree with your values that you brought out, and you said that employees also share those values. My question is, how do you recruit them, or how do you evaluate it?
That's a great question. I love it. Sorry. I have got a little cold in Estonia, Israeli girl. Here it's hot, cold here. So, yeah, the culture values are very important for us. Actually, we as a founding team constantly knew that our values, how to spread them. I think we're all the time talking about, expecting them. And honestly, I haven't hired people that are super smart, but don't carry the values that we have. So it has been a little bit, even non-talk, but we all walk the walk. I did lately, that's why I love the question, I did lately a survey in the company all about the values. And I went completely plain page, tabula rasa, and to see what it is. And it was really warming my heart because this is what I got it back. I got back the things that were our values. I got back the things that we really impacted. Even when we were doubting sometimes what to do, this reflected back. And now it's in all over the hiring process. Everyone knows. The person is not a team worker, not this, not humble. You are not belonging to that team. And this is what we also in the market, in Israeli market, you talk about competition here. In the HR market, there are lots of startups, lots of companies, very hard competition. So you also actually do employee branding. You say, what are my values? And the people with such similar values will come and join you. So, yeah, you shout out what you want, what your values, what you do, and then you look for these people. And lots of employee brings the employee things, and you talk about them. We have them in the walls, and
There was one more.
It's like not tolerating it when it's not like that.
One more question here.
Hi, it's Victor from Poland. I have a question like, which parts of your Israeli experience would you find most, valuable or supportive, or like which parts of the, Israel or what's there was the most, you found most value, or, what I mean, like as opposed, for example, to where you were here, because Israel is like interesting place, right? There are different things that are different, so, I wanted to ask you about that.
You mean that what kind of Israeli values I like and help in the entrepreneurship?
Yeah, or what helps there, yeah, exactly. Is it the approach of people, or the organizations that are there, mindset,
The question basically is, why are you doing your startup in Israel? Right? Kind of like,
or
why
yeah,
is it a good place to do it?
Yeah.
I actually lived there before. So I was there already before, working there 5 years or more in high tech, and there I started a startup. So, but actually when I went to Israel, I said that I was a manager I was in high tech in Estonia before, and I was a manager as well. And when I went to Israel, I said, I will never want to manage any Israelis. No management in Israel. Everyone is such a big, everyone knows so well, no humble so much, and very hard people to handle them. And today I manage 40 people, so never say never. But I think what's cool with the Israelis and the mindset is, it's a long story. I'll try really to say very few things. I can talk an hour about that. I think the geopolitical situation actually pushed them a lot to innovation. They don't have friends around them, so they have most of it the desert. You all see the Eurovision now, definitely. So there are lots of clips in the desert. So you don't have water, you don't have a land, and the hard conditions push you to innovate. Is it then security, lots of cyber security things, and lots of the water. They drink actual seawater. They make it sweet before. So there are the tomatoes that you eat here, they grow in the desert. So lots of great innovation.
A lot of restrictions, actually, but they innovate nevertheless. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And I think that's push you, because you cannot enjoy. You have to.
Okay, I have to cut you, sorry. We're running out of time. Thank you once more. Give a big applause for Triinu. Our next speaker has been on the stage already today, right?
I wasn't technically on the stage.
Technically you weren't, but you almost were. Is Patrick, and he has an interesting history. He has been working in Google. He has been working in NSA, meaning that in Estonia we say that if you have a terav nina, like a sharp nose to sneak out stuff, but he actually doesn't smell, smell, so he was born with that kind of a nose. But you won't talk about your nose much, right? You won't talk about something else.
Not much else to say.
Anyway, I'll get off the stage. Please give a big applause to Patrick.
Thank you. Thank you. How's everyone doing? Come on, how's everyone doing? I know we're in Estonia, but come on, a little bit more. How's everyone doing? All right, there we go. All right, so I'm Patrick Campbell. I'm CEO, founder of a company called ProfitWell, and what I really want to talk about today is leverage, truth, and fear. And the main reason is because when you're building a company, it doesn't matter if you're bootstrapped, venture-backed, what vertical you're in. These are three really, really big things that are going to be a part of your life, and really three big things that are going to contribute to your success or your failure. But to give you a little bit of a background why I have any authority to talk about this, I run ProfitWell. Our core product is a subscription financial metrics product. So we plug into your billing system, Stripe, Braintree, Zora, whatever you're using, and give you access to all of your main subscription financial metrics for free. So your churn, your cohorts, all that kind of fun stuff. And what ended up happening is, I'm going to tell you a little bit later why we give it away for free, but the way that we make money is we have a couple of different products that basically help you with your churn, your pricing, and also some of your accounting. And the kind of fun fact here is we're actually sitting on about 20 to 25% of the entire SaaS market are using one or more of our products, which is really, really cool. And because it's a free product, one thing that we track a lot of is, how much revenue is actually sitting on top of ProfitWell. And this is kind of the trajectory of that particular metric of the number of people who, basically started using our product. This is our revenue, at least for the past 3 years. I'll show you the past 6 years in a second, because that's a fun graph to look at and make me sad about my life. Yeah, what's kind of cool about us is we've taken $0 in funding, completely self-funded and bootstrapped, although a lot of people don't realize that being bootstrapped actually has its costs. This is my bank account and my salary over time. Basically, as you'll notice, the salary started very low. The bank account went to basically zero, and we're kind of making a little bit of a comeback now, but it's not too great, if that makes sense. And this is what I looked like when I founded the company. Just to be clear, I'm the one on the right. Yeah, so with that bank account and this, very attractive to potential mates and things like that. But that's kind of the background here, and I think that what's been interesting is, starting a company and, kind of running it in a bootstrap manner, it's kind of given me a different perspective that's not necessarily far off from what you would get from a venture-backed founder, but has a little bit of its own flavor, if that makes sense. And so, first thing we're going to talk about here is talking about leverage. And what I mean by this is, when you're a founder or you're an executive at a company, you have limited time, you have limited resources. You are fighting against the clock, and you're fighting against inertia, just fighting against you. And so when it comes to leverage, your job is really to get the most out of the money or the time that you're basically investing in your company. But if we're really, really honest with ourselves, a lot of us are actually really, really bad at this. Because what happens is we essentially get into what I like to call the freak out cycle of executive emotion. And what I mean by that is, all of a sudden something bad will happen. Who here has had something bad happen in their companies? If you're not raising your hand, you are lying, or you're not starting a company. That's what's going on right now. So a bad thing happens, and then what ends up happening in our head is we go, this is important, right? It doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter if it's actually important, but a lot of us go oh, this is important, I have to solve this problem now. I am a founder, I am an executive, it's my job to solve this problem, right? And then what kind of happens while that's going on is what I like to call the reverberation of, fuck, oh my God, everything's gonna burn, everything's going terribly, everything's gonna stop working, right? How are we ever gonna get over this? And then what's kind of interesting is we face that particular problem, and rather than kind of sitting down and thinking about it and figuring out what a really, really good solution is, we go into this kind of freak out mode where we're let's just guess on something, let's just spend some money, let's just throw something up against the wall, and then all of a sudden it's oh, maybe that'll work, right? And then inevitably it doesn't work, so we're oh no, we gotta get growth, we gotta do it again, so we just kind of guess again, and we just kind of rush in to solve the problem, and then eventually, 3, 4, 5 times go by, and we're oh no, we're gonna fail, we're never gonna solve this problem, we're never gonna grow, we're never going to, get this product right, everything's gonna be bad. And then finally, we do something, and it works, right? All of a sudden, we solved it. Now, we feel really, really good about that, right? But we went through all of this pain and all of this suffering and all of this mental terribleness. And the problem is that all those different things that we guessed on that didn't actually work, they have some serious consequences that they can actually start this cycle all over again. So to give you a really minor example, if anyone here has been in a situation where someone that reported to you or someone that worked with you got something wrong, and we were just having a bad day, or we were already mad at them, and we got really frustrated at them, and we were just oh, I'm gonna fix it, or, oh, you have to fix this, oh my God, I can't believe you're so dumb, or something like that, right? You might actually get the problem solved, but then all of a sudden you were really, really rude to that person because you were frustrated, and that's gonna cause another problem because all of a sudden that person isn't gonna be effective, isn't gonna be inspired, isn't gonna work really, really well on the next thing that you have to work with them on, right? And these cycles happen over and over and over in our company. And what we should be using is what I like to call the breakout cycle of executive emotion. I'm really good at naming things, if you can't tell. That was a joke. I know you guys don't laugh at jokes. I was warned. I've been here before. I get it. But I'm still going to make the jokes because it's about me, I guess. Anyways, so a bad thing happens. All of a sudden, the first thing we should be asking is this important? Because a lot of things are not as important, or they'll get solved themselves, or they'll just kind of be taken care of by someone else. Now, we're still going to freak out a little bit. We're still going to go through that reverberation of, fuck, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. We didn't train that person. We didn't do that thing. But what this allows you to do then is if something is truly important, what we should do is we should stop, take a beat, think about it, get a little bit of a framework on thinking through the problem, and then finally, when we figure out what we should do, when we've identified the cause of the problem and what a viable solution is, then we should act, right? And then all of a sudden, we implement that solution, we monitor it. If it's not working, we come back, and then finally, we solve it, and it's great. Now, you still might have some unintended consequences where bad things happen, but if we take a pause, if we take a beat, and this might be as simple as, oh my God, someone wrote in and had a terrible support experience, let me just take a second, figure out how I should respond to them before just randomly responding. Or it might be something big where you're like, growth isn't happening and we only have 6 months left of runway, we gotta figure this out now. But either way, we've stopped, we've thought, and we basically have acted rather than kind of freaking out. And everyone's good at this already, it's just we won't necessarily use this for all of the moments that we probably should. Because when the bad things happen, it gets really, really emotional because we're so connected to our companies, we're so connected to our work. Now, to give you a little bit of an example here, we'll talk a little bit about what happened with ProfitWell. So I showed you where we were, but I didn't show you where we started. So this is what the first MVP of ProfitWell looks like. This is what you get when Patrick designs a product. Yes, that is a little piggy bank logo in the upper left-hand corner. Yes, when you scrolled over that piggy bank, that little coin did drop into the bank. It was pretty awesome, but also terrible. And it looks like this now. I just feel insecure, but this is how we started. This is where we are now. But the problem is that when we were on this trajectory, we thought we were amazing. We were helping a company with one of our other products, Price Intelligently, basically get their pricing right before their IPO. And as we were helping them with their pricing before the IPO, we discovered that they were calculating their monthly recurring revenue and their churn completely incorrectly. So you had the CFO who had taken 2 other companies public. This was his third, and he was calculating some of the most basic subscription metrics wrong. And so we were sitting there and we were like, this is the idea. This is what's going to get us a Ferrari. This is what's going to make us rich. This is what's going to be amazing, right? So we built that I showed you, and we were like, all right, let's go to market. Let's do some stuff. So we launched. We started getting some folks to use it, hook up their Stripe accounts. We were just on Stripe. And then all of a sudden, not 2 months later, this company called Baremetrics launched, which was a competitor. Then all of a sudden, I think it was 6 months later, a company called ChartMogul launched, which was a competitor. And because building on top of Stripe was so easy, all of a sudden we lived in this market where we had 35, 36, 37, 40 different competitors. And this whole we're gonna get Ferraris, we're gonna be amazing, we're geniuses, basically just got destroyed. Because we're like, oh, 37 other geniuses exist, and they created these products as well. And to kind of make matters worse, Baremetrics raised $500,000 from Stripe. Turned out that wasn't that big of a deal, but it was one of those things where we're sitting there and we're like, our main partner just invested money in one of our competitors. And then all of a sudden, ChartMogul was on the funding path. They've raised about $4 million to date, not all at the same time. And keep in mind, this is my bank account, right? This is my bank account, this is my salary. It's right around here where I'm living in Boston and basically making no money, and basically, not maxing out my credit cards, but definitely spending some money on my credit cards. And so what we did is we went through the reverberation of, fuck, everything's terrible, cancel the Yacht Magazine subscription, all these different things, right? We didn't actually have a Yacht Magazine subscription, but you get the point, right? So we stopped and we analyzed it. And what we used was I like to call it problem, cause, solution. I didn't come up with that, but it's a good methodology to use. Where we had this problem, hey, now it's gonna be really, really difficult to build, distribute, and monetize ProfitWell Metrics, which is the subscription metrics product. And we started doing some research in the market, and I don't have time to go through all the research, but the first thing that we did is we found out that there was a lack of willingness to pay for analytics products. We basically found out that people don't like paying for metrics, they don't like paying for analytics, and the willingness to pay doesn't really scale with the size of the company. And so that was a big problem. We were like, we're not just facing that, all of our competitors are facing that as well, and that's not fun for anyone. We found out that there were massive accuracy issues. So all of a sudden, with our competitors, we started collecting NPS data from our competitors' customers, and we started to realize that they were having these accuracy issues, and also that those accuracy issues were really, really tough to solve. Anyone who's tried to take financial data or just any data from an API and get to 100% accuracy realizes that's something that's super, super difficult to do. Then we had some of the standard things. We had no name recognition, no funding, not a lot of money, and our product was behind. So our competitors had launched. They weren't as accurate as us, but they had a lot of different features. And so we were looking at this, and we were like, what should we do? And I know it's a little bit of a leap because I'm not going through all the data, but what we eventually kind of came up with based on the data that we collected here, and if you go to our site or email me, I can share with you all the data of the story, but we basically came up with, okay, based on all of these causes to this problem, we should either get rid of the product, or the solution that we came up with was, let's give it away for free, which is a big risk, especially when you're a non-funded company. We're going to focus on accuracy. We're going to take an 18-month hit, meaning we're not going to build features out. We are going to take 18 months of no new features just to get accuracy right, and we're going to commit to this path, which was one of the biggest risks that we took in our business. And thankfully it worked out, or it's worked out so far, but again, we broke down this problem in a way that we could basically understand what were the parts of that problem without freaking out, building a bunch of features, doing competitive stuff, trying to like sell against a competitor. We wanted to understand what was going on in the market, and that's how we were able to get leverage. And that's why leverage is so important. Now lastly here, as we're wrapping up, I want to talk a little bit about truth and fear. Who here has been scared as they've been building their company? If you're not raising your hand, you're lying. I know you're lying, because unless you're a sociopath, which don't raise your hand because I don't want to know you. I don't know. But there's a lot of things going on in a company, and because of all of these emotions, both good and bad, oftentimes we get distracted and we're not focused on the truth of what's actually happening, and we start to succumb to fear. Because there's all of these different things that are trying to essentially attack you, not necessarily nefariously, but they're trying to go against the momentum that you're trying to build within your company. And just to give you a little bit of an example here, when we're going through this big, big cycle, this reverberation of fuck, as I've talked about, that's really the scary part, because that's when doubt starts to creep in, and that's the point when people can start to get to you with why you're gonna fail, why you should be doing something else, why you should spend more time away from your company, all of the above. And it comes in many different places. There's some good places, like your parents are probably concerned about your well-being. They might want you to get a more secure job because they don't want to see you so tired. It comes from some bad places. You probably have some bad friends who, take advantage of you, not necessarily in a terrible way, but just take advantage of your time and make it about them. And then there's acts of God or the universe, right? Where, all of a sudden something terrible is going to go wrong in your life that you just can't control. And then all of a sudden it's just something where that fear can creep in. But there's so many of these axes that can kind of fragment that solidarity that you have with yourself. Now, for me, this is what the past 3 years at ProfitWell looked like in terms of our subscription revenue, and this is what the past 6 years looked like in terms of ProfitWell's growth. Now, during this time, I wasn't just gaining weight, I was also going through hell in a handbasket in terms of many, many different things. First thing that happened, I had a lot of first-time founder woes. Anyone here first-time founder? Yeah, it kind of sucks when you're a first-time founder because you don't know what's right, you don't know what's wrong. I couldn't have founded ProfitWell in a worse way. I had part-time co-founders that I didn't really know that well. They were vested, which is like terrible. I know that sounds awful, and we've fixed it all since then. But it was one of those things where like, literally in these 4 or 5 years, I had to threaten to tank the company several times because I couldn't get them to move, I couldn't get them to do the things that I needed to do to bring on other senior people because they weren't involved with the company at all. During this time as well, I had a massive breakup. I was in a relationship for about 7 years, and I don't think the company was the exact reason why we broke up, but it was one of those things where it definitely exposed that this wasn't really a great relationship for either of us, so that really, really sucked. Oh, and to make matters worse, she worked at the company, so that was terrible. We were together before the company, so it wasn't like a weird thing, but like, yeah, it was not great, especially when you have a small team, like we were like 15, 20 people at that time. We had the reddest of oceans, so we had all those competitors. Like, I don't know how you would feel when literally every support ticket you're getting is, well, Barometrics has that feature. And we're like, yeah, but it's wrong, it's inaccurate. Well, they still have that graph, and I want to see that graph, right? Same thing with ChartMogul, so that was terrible. And then to kind of kick me in the face a little bit further, I got diagnosed and, I beat cancer, but I still got the cancer, which was terrible in the middle of all this stuff going on. And it was actually, the second time that I had cancer. I had cancer when I worked at Google. If you're ever going to get sick, go work at Google. It's the best place to get sick. My boss was like, we'll pay you. You don't have to come in. Like, I was just like, I don't have to come in? They're like, no. I still worked, but I didn't see a bill. I know that's not a big deal to you guys, but we don't have health insurance like you guys. Our employer really gets it. And the second time I had it, it was one of those things where we were at this really, really critical point in the company, and I was literally 4 months from being officially in remission. So it was one of those things where I was like, oh, fuck, thanks, universe. That's great. All this stuff's going on, and then, hit me in the face with the health, right? And just to be super clear, everything's cool now. I'm not technically in remission again quite yet, but everything's really, really great at this point. But all this stuff is happening, right? And you know what we tell each other when this stuff happens? Because it's not a contest. You have terrible stuff that's happening in your life too. Maybe it's not a Lifetime movie. I don't know if you get that reference, but it's one of those things where you have bad stuff happening. But what we tell each other when we face each other who have bad things is stuff like this. Right? You know what you should do? Totally download Headspace, guys. That's going to help you get over it, right? You really got to work on that fitness. You got to work on eating well, right? And then my personal favorite, do you journal? It's really going to help you get your thoughts together, bro. It's going to be awesome, right? The problem is that stuff like this does help, but it really only helps the symptoms of the problem. When you're going through all this pain, when you're going through all this crazy stuff, all this fear that's creeping into your business, this type of stuff, it might help you get through that day, but it's not going to actually help fix the problem. And I think everyone's got to find their own cure to this kind of stuff, but here's what I really found that helped me, was really focusing on the why. And the why isn't, I want a good, life for my family, I want a good life for, so-and-so, because there's so much easier ways to do that than founding a company. The why's got to be something that you are just scratching an itch, that you have to find the truth, you have to learn something, you have to do something. It's got to be a really, really good why. Because when you find that, and you figure out what you want to achieve, you can basically center in on that. And when you have those bad days, you can basically center in on what's happening. On top of that, then, you can make sure you surround yourself with the right partners, the right co-founders, the right C team. Because when you're having a bad day, maybe they're having a good day. Then you can surround yourself with the right team who can do the exact same things for you. And then finally, the right family and friends. Because your family and friends, they're actually going to pull you away from this stuff because that's your personal life, right? You want to find the people that support you, the people who get it, or at least don't get it, but at least support it, right? And when you get these things together, that allows you to understand and be unapologetic about who you are, why you're doing this, and when that fear creeps in, you can kill that fear by using that introspection to understand why you're still doing this. And so with that, understand your leverage, understand your truth, and that's ultimately going to help you get over that fear. Here's my email address. If you ever have any questions about this or about pricing stuff, I guess I do that too.
Yeah.
But
Yes, you do.
I appreciate it, everyone, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
I went over.
You went over.
I went over.
And because you went over, you have no time for
I
questions.
got fired up, I'm sorry.
You're American. That's why.
We're boisterous. We like to take the stage, right?
Yes,
All right.
exactly.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Give the clicker to Maarten. Where is Maarten? He was just there. Where the fuck did he go? Excellent. Ah, so he's there. Excellent. So Maarten, please come on stage. So this guy comes from Amsterdam, yes?
Yes.
And
Just
you were on the flight just like 5 minutes ago, so you made it here.
Yes, the weather is nice outside.
And he has the most interesting job title I've ever seen. He's the global head of voice. Like,
yes.
What the fuck, man? Explain that. Give him a big applause.
Thank you, everybody. Wow, how is the energy here? How is everybody? I'm the last speaker. Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, good. I got 20 minutes, right? No, 18. I'm not going to see you. Give me a 50% warning, okay? Thank you. So, I'm going to tell you my journey. And my journey is basically 50% about me and why I do things and why I got here. And then basically, I'm going to also share with you that I maybe have figured out how to do the next part. Because until now, I never had a clue. I just, rolled along. Is that a good plan? Yep. Good. So, this is basically what I have been doing the last almost 30 years, almost 40, I don't know, can't count. So I started with the web when it was still very old. Then I did email, cool campaigns and stuff. Rolled into mobile. Does anybody know Mobile Monday here? Yes, good. I was the founder of Mobile Monday Amsterdam. I did augmented reality. Anybody know Layer? Yeah, only the old people, millennials. It's too old. 10 years old this month. And now I do voice, where I'm, which is also fun. And in between, I did some teams. Basically, I did the future of work. Let me explain that a little bit better in a moment. So now I'm global head of voice. Basically, who has an Alexa here or a Google Assistant? Some people. So that's the voice part. Right. Who talked today to a device? Not a human device. This week? This month? See, it's more. This year? Yeah, so okay, we're getting there. So that's what I do all day, but I'll end with that. So in the late 80s, I was a little boy, and the only thing I did was I read science fiction, mostly cyberpunk. And for me, and I still do this is the way how I see the future. For me, all scenarios that might happen, I have read already. Because I enjoy it. I love not living in the now, maybe, and looking ahead. So when I got my brother's 888, that's the first Intel chip IBM computer, if you're familiar with it, I was already ready to go online, to log in with my 2400 baud modem, use Telnet, Gopher, and all the things that that we hardly know anymore now. And that's how I went online. I had an email address, I met people. I was able to log into a library in the States from Amsterdam. Nobody did that back then. And for me, I was already living what I read 5 years ago about cyberspace and things like that. And I still that way look at the future. I just didn't know that it was anything I could do, or that I could do anything with that. I just did it. And so at one point, I had to do a long internship. The long internship I did at Shell Research in Amsterdam, which is now a very nice disco tower, because they rebuilt it into a humongous club. And there at Shell Research, I had got a big Quadra computer and a Silicon graphics machine. And even though it wasn't my assignment, I made my first website. And that was actually before Netscape came out. And for me, it was really living the dream of becoming connected and doing things with that. And also the cool thing was, I'm not a programmer. I do not think logically. I'm not ordered and sequential or anything like that. But I could do HTML. So I felt like a nerd. And I felt cool, and I was kind of part of it. And back then, it was also kind of like a cultural thing. You know, it was the emergence of dance music, electronic music that we now hear everything. That was just starting. The cyber culture in that sense was also there, and I was, of course, very much into it. So I built my first websites, and then eventually, of course, I got some nice jobs with the first agencies. I was, for instance, my first big website that I sold in a commercial role was to AkzoNobel. Are we familiar with that company here? Yeah, a little bit. They do lots of chemicals, very corporate and boring. Basically, before I knew it, I was the vice president, and then I was a country manager, and I had no clue what to do. I just did whatever. One of the things I did was watch Star Trek: The Next Generation, and maybe it's like that, and I can learn from this, because I didn't know. I just rolled into it, and I wasn't good, but I don't know, I just did something that kind of worked. Until the bubble burst. Looking back, yeah, that's literally, people wanted to do too much, of course, with all the potential of the internet, and they misused it almost, and that led to the hype and the disappointment afterwards. So then I had to look for another job. Thank God the local Dutch TV wasn't as fast with their budgeting, so I could still work there for a while to do internet things. But after that, I had to do something new. And by chance, somebody at an email agency called me, so I could work there. I had no clue how email worked. I knew how to create big websites and projects. Email back then was you have to, literally you have to manage it by line, by word, in order for it to be well. So what I started doing is I started to look also outside for inspiration to understand how I could deal with this. And this is just totally random, but I don't know if you know him. That's Rem Koolhaas. And he wrote this book, Content. And I read it, and I'm like, whoa, this is what I'm going to use. I don't know how, but I used it. It was my secret sword. Oh, bugger, I wanted to bring one, a plastic sword. But that was my magic sword to basically attack something I couldn't know. And that's how, that really went pretty well. And there, during that time, the Web 2.0 started. I started blogging. I started Twittering very early and did all the things you did back there. And amongst others, this is Mobile Monday. I came across some people with whom I really clicked. We had the same vision, the same passion, and using that, we were able to create a TED-style level Mobile Monday in Amsterdam, where important speaker, this is Joe Pine, came and spoke. Within 2 years, we had several thousand people on the list. It was sold out in 5 minutes. It was free, it was sponsored. And it was really amazing what you can do with passion and with flow, basically. And this I did next to my job. And this went really well, and it was yay. I remember I even went to El Bulli. So everything happens at once. If you know El Bulli, that used to be the best restaurant in the world. Got invited by chance. Anyway, literally a week later, they made a scan, and we just had this. So, and I had a tumor. I just gave up my job to start my first company with all these people with whom I shared a passion. And then I found this big tumor. It's above my heart. It's bigger than my heart, as you can see. And bam, I literally called my old boss and asked him, hey, can I rejoin? Because otherwise I have no income and I don't know what my future is. That was harsh. Right there and then it was a hard time. Because for the first time in my happy rolling along life and all going well, I had something negative to deal with. Actually something very negative, as in maybe I'll die. And I remember, for me, it wasn't really that issue back then, because I had no choice. I had to be happy. I had to go through it, and I did. I'm all well now. But I remember confronting all my 30-year-old friends or somewhere there that they were going to die at some point. And they never had that. So 3 months of heavy chemo, no hair, and all that stuff, and then slowly I recovered. And while I recovered, I started working again. Thank you. And basically, with my buddies, we came up with Layer, the first global augmented reality platform. Overall, we raised 18 million. Basically, I was back on my flow, and combined with, fuck, I'm alive. I had my first child, and everything was awesome. Do you know that song? Yes. 7 years, like I said, 18 million, 44 million users globally. Was great. Last 2 years I spent in New York, and then we were kind of done with it. We were like, we're done. And so basically we sold it at the low part. I have nothing left. And I started doing something else. And I met my co-founder, he left 2 years earlier, and I met him again, and he was really down. I'm like, man, we're not done, but what should we do now? What's next? And so basically...
What to Harry Potter?
I'm not going to do this anyway. I'm so sorry. I'm going to skip this one. We thought up okay, let's do a bigger play. Let's create a company that basically is a TomTom for work. So it tells you when we want to work together what we should do and how. But you need a map, and you need some code and all that. So basically we had to figure out what change was. And what was nice is that basically we're also trying to figure out what the hell happened with Layer and maybe also with ourselves, and who are we? Because that's your basic question you have anyway when you're 30 and you kind of want to know what's going on. So we created a map for change, and change, that's the map, I'll go into it in a moment. Change is something that happens continuously. Literally just now, people were very nervous of me arriving. Well, if everything went well, I would have arrived in time, and I did, yay. But everything happens. You live, you die. There are seasons, there are seeds that blossom, etc., etc., etc. Same goes for companies, same goes for startups, same goes for anything you want to do. So we created a map where we could see where a project was, where a company was at. And basically it always starts with connect. I'll just do the quadrants. Connect means that, hey, there's a problem there. You know, somebody sees that and it's not right. And maybe somebody else sees it as well. And slowly it energizes into a problem that's acknowledged that people want to work on. And you know what? Maybe if we create another color, it will be better. And then you create the vision of what it could be, how it could, the world could be different. And maybe if there's a hat on it, it would be better. But man, if we need it to be yellow, we need somebody to commit paint, and we need to commit time to paint it yellow. And this is, of course, a total fictionist live explanation. But that is how a project always emerges. There needs to be a problem, a lacking in the world. If it's not there, it'll at some point blow away again. At some point. So if you look at Layer, the augmented reality company, well, the augmented reality actually still has the same problem. There is no problem. There is no lacking. It fulfills. It just is a technology looking for a problem. That's, in short, why Layer never took off. Once you have your problem and your resources, you go to construct. That's when you code in the attic or in the basement and you work and you come up with smart things. That's when your ego is, I know better, it should be yellow, it should be green. That's where the designers live. And once you're done and you shut the door and go outside and stand outside here literally and sell your product, that's when you are in Conquer. When you say, look at my stuff, you want to have it? Yeah, yeah. Oh, you don't like it, but you like it? You have a transactional state of mind instead of a deep thinking mind. And lastly, once you've done your rounds and once you've landed in the world and have created a system of success, Uber almost did, well, maybe they did with all their money, but literally your big new system that you created with your product and your customers and your machine, it is actually working, and then you hold on as long as you can. Continue. And this, for me, was so easy and so nice to have basically a way to orient whatever I do and whatever I see. What quadrant is it? Is it still emerging? Does it have resources? Is it available for the market? And has it achieved success or not? And that way you can always see where it is. And then we found something special. Everybody has a preference. Everybody that is out here has a preference of how they act, where they like it, and what they do. If you're in Connect, you like to talk, you like to easily meet people, and you share everything. You're communicative. You're not really into structure. You're not into authority. If you're in Construct, you actually don't really need to talk to people. You want to figure out stuff. You want to solve problems. And you have a little bit ego, actually, which is good, because you should know things. Conquer, those people are more transactional. They're very quick. They like to talk, but it doesn't really matter to whom. And Continue, those are family people. They want to maintain what is there. So one of the things that I found out, in short, is that if you know what your personal preferred quadrant is, and you can do this using a simple test we have online, and by the way, the company's almost sold, it's not even a pitch. But you can do this online, MBTI, Big Five, all these personality tests will give you insight into this. But once you have an insight into what kind of person am I? Do I like to come up with big ideas, connect? Do I like to solve things, construct? Do I like to just run with things, conquer? Or do I like to hold on, continue? Once you know that, you kind of also maybe know where you will be good at, where you have a lot of energy for. Because if I do something which is construct, for instance, writing a book I just finished, that costs me a lot of energy, because this is not me to sit still. I did do it, kind of, as in I had a lot of other people write it with me. So when you do something, what is your preferred quadrant? But also, where is your initiative? So for me, if I'm really good at starting projects, but actually not really starting, just saying, hey, there's a problem and you want to help. And then everybody will quickly trust me and see the problem that I point at. To actually start it, I always need another energy. So I always now look for people that have that, yes, I see it, but then we should do this. And that's how you combine teams, literally. So where is your initiative? What it is need? Where is it at? And lastly, where is your industry? The startup world might be now in an almost success cycle. Basically, everything is clear. You just need to perform according to the rules. And there's nothing new anymore. 10 years ago when I did Layer, nothing was known yet, really. There were no clear rules for startups. For us, that was very advantageous. Now, because the rules are clear, I don't never play by the rules, so I can never win in such a situation. So in short, where is your preferred quadrant? Where is your initiative and where is your industry? That's what works. That's how you can figure things out. And this is a little bit of systems thinking. I learned that later. I did not know that. So if you look at what I do now, so I'm Maarten, that's my first name. I live in this world of Connect where I see potential. That's why I read science fiction. That's why this is my 5th new medium, voice. And I always do the same thing. I now know that looking back. I'm the global head of voice at a big development and design company from Denmark. And for them, this is a new space. So again, I'm in my space, as in it's something new adding to an existing company, which is established. So they're back there in Conquer, they're doing well. So I'm doing something new, and literally, they are earning the money through their regular business to pay my new stuff. That's how you can see that system going on. And voice itself, as a medium, as a channel, is of course very new. Totally my sweet spot. Anybody's played Scrabble? Yeah, thank you. This is to get you going. So it's the 3 times word value is what you got here, the 3 times score. And that's of course what I now look for anything I do. And this is the first time after, I'm 48, after all these years that I found that. So this is also what I hope to share with you, is determine where you are with your, where you like to be with your orientations, where do you fit? Determine what your movement is, so where do you want to be flowing towards? And don't hold on to it too much, because that never works. Be like water is what Bruce Lee said. And I'd like to close off in my last 50 minutes. I found the total short version of this through Horowitz, one of the big VCs in the US I met a while ago, and he said this.
Conventional graduation thoughts, and I'm titling them, Do Not Follow Your Passion, and the World is Not Going to Hell in a Handbasket, and the class of 2015 is not required to save it. I told you it was going to be unconventional. So don't follow your passion. Now you're probably thinking, that's a really dumb idea, because everybody who's successful, and if you poll 1,000 people who are successful, they'll all say that they love what they do. And so the broad conclusion of the world is that if you do what you love, then you'll be successful. But we're engineers, and we know that that might be true. But it also might be the case that if you're successful, you love what you do. You just love being successful, and everybody loves you. It's awesome. So which one is it? Well, I think to figure it out, you kind of have to go back in time. You have to back off when you were successful to, like right now, when you're graduating as the class of 2015. And the first tricky thing about passions are, they're hard to prioritize. Which passion is it? Are you more passionate about math or engineering? Are you more passionate about history or literature? Are you more passionate about video games or K-pop?
Okay, I'll make it short. His point is, act not just on your passion, act where you can contribute. And that's what I like to leave you with. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.